Welcome to the Getting Experience presentation. So, I've said before in other presentations that I've helped a lot of people make career transitions from wherever they are or wherever they were into IT, and a lot of people complain to me that they don't have the experience. Without the experience, they can't get the job. Well, it's kind of a paradox, really, because how did anyone get a career in IT if everyone needs experience to start? So there's a couple of ways of thinking about it. Either they just got some sort of break into IT and then built up their experience, or they did something about it. Now we can't really presume that somebody's just because we've passed an exam, like many thousands of other people have, that they're going to say, yeah, sure, we'll take you on. It's nice if it happens, and I have heard of it happening, and I do know of companies hiring people and training them up. There's a company I trained several people for recently, and they hired pretty much anyone. One of the people was a photographer, someone else had been running a gardening business, and they hired them onto their network support team, and they trained them up. So it does happen. However, I'll presume that unless you can find a company that's willing to do that, you're going to need to do something about this experience gap. So we're going to be taking stock, looking at taking some action, and then how do we become an authority? Okay, so first thing I'd like to change our paradigm as to what is experience. So experience, as far as I'm concerned, is any time spent on live equipment. For example, if you're training to become a pilot, there's a few things you go through. You obviously go through the lectures, and then if you're training to fly a large aircraft, you'll spend time on simulators. From simulators, then you'll go on to live aircraft. Now, I had some helicopter lessons a few years ago, and at the airfield there was light aircraft as well. They didn't really give you any simulator time, so basically, as soon as you went for your first lesson, you went out flying, and you recorded all the time you spent flying into your logbook. And your logbook's like an official document that you can use, and it tracks how many hours experience you have flying various types of aircraft. And by law, certainly in the UK and I know many other countries, you're not allowed to fly solo until you've chalked up so many hours. So basically, any time you've spent configuring, troubleshooting, cabling up live equipment counts as time, counts as experience. Because if you do a password recovery on your own equipment at home, it's exactly the same as doing password recovery on live network equipment. The same with configuring routing protocols or switching or VLANs. It's all the same commands. Obviously, if you're on a live network for a company, you have to be more careful about outages and commands and breaking stuff. But it's the same stuff. So any time you spend, this is why I don't recommend people spend too much time on simulators. They're okay if you're on a train or you're on a laptop in a coffee shop somewhere, but really I do recommend you having your own rack of equipment. We do supply them on my online training company, howtonetwork.net. However, when you're looking at progressing past the foundation levels, you really do need to have your own rack. Any time in the classroom, if you're configuring live equipment, unfortunately many training companies now, they they let you configure stuff, but it's remote, it's still locked away in a server room somewhere, so a lot of the time you don't even get to see what you're configuring. But any time, if you've had any classroom training on live equipment, it still counts. And any time, I don't know if you, like me, have got some experience doing PC troubleshooting and network troubleshooting. If you've been asked by friends, family, people you know to come and fix things, that also counts as live experience. Especially good if you've gone to anywhere where any small businesses, for example, and I'll come to this in a bit. But any friends or contacts who own their own businesses, if you've gone to do any installation or troubleshooting or given any advice, that all counts, and it's something you can put on your resume quite legitimately. What we're going to do is prepare ourselves. So you need to list your gaps. If your goal, and we talked about goals earlier, if your goal is to become a network engineer doing routing, switching, VLANs, that sort of thing, what are the gaps in your level of skill and knowledge? Don't just you expect to be handed stuff on a plate. What is it you need to improve on? And then next one down, you start on them now. If you're quite weak on your routing and access lists, there's plenty of labs. You can go to howtonetwork.net, you can buy a book, get your own rack and start turning your weak points into strong points. It's too late once you get called for that technical interview to to say you need to work on stuff. So the biggest cliche is what I started with, really. Some people expect that when they pass an exam, a company's going to take them on and give them coaching through the foundation to intermediate and advanced qualifications. Great if you can find a company that'll do that, and even better if you can find one that will take you on with no experience. But you can't really rely on that happening. It's just a bit of a cliche. And I said earlier, it does happen. However, do you really want to be sitting there waiting and be among hundreds of other candidates waiting for this break? So action we can take now to plug this gap in our experience. Alright, the first thing is I recommend you start setting yourself up as somebody who knows what they're talking about. So if it was me, I'd start off and perhaps get a mini website. A website, it doesn't have to be anything commercial, but it could be something that you can point friends, family and people you know to, offering your services. So if you've passed your CCNA exam for Cisco, you really should be able to write access lists and configure VLANs, do some basic routing, basic switching and lock down a router. And this is the just kind of bread and butter stuff that many companies and people want anyway. For example, most companies don't back up their router configs. Many companies will buy a router, get it installed, but have got no one to maintain it. Now we're kind of moving into becoming a freelancer, which is another website altogether. But I'd like you to look at ways where you could just get some more experience, get some hands-on. It doesn't have to be any high-level consulting or anything too complicated. Offer some services. When you're starting out, you may want to do it quite reasonably priced. You could go and do stuff and just for a few dollars an hour. I recommend you don't go offering freebies. If you've spent several months or years getting qualified, paid for exams and bought all your study materials, why would you then go and offer yourself to work for free? There's a couple of exceptions to that which I'll come to in a bit, but if you're doing this commercially or spending any amount of time doing it for even for other people, you really should be covering your costs at the very least. The other thing is network. Network with people you know on Twitter, Facebook, friends, family, colleagues. Sorry, delete that. Look at who you know, and the people who you know, look at who they know, or ask them who they know. Say, you're looking to expand your experience and you're offering some services, or you'd like to get some more hands-on experience. Put down your qualifications on your website. And start asking, and people like to help people. It's in their nature. So you can expect some leads from there, some places where you could go and chat about getting some more